Hey, thanks for tuning into the Art of SBA Lending. Today in the podcast, we have our first ever recurring guest, Greg Gala. Greg is a senior BDO at Truliant Credit Union and the host of the New American Media podcast. Now, Greg is a friend of the podcast. He was at our BDO retreat, and I love having him on because he has a unique perspective of the SBA industry. And so we invited him back in part to speak about the differences between big shops and small shops in SBA, particularly from the viewpoint of a BDO looking to make a move. So stick around.
All right, what's going on?
What's up? What's up?
Oh, you dressed up for me. Thank you.
You want me to? I figured I have to dress better than your last guest, Mr. Alan.
Wow.
The great.
Shots fired.
I didn't want him showing me up.
How did Alan do, by the way? Did you catch the last podcast?
I literally just watched it like an hour ago.
Oh, wow.
Super good. I think a lot of the things he said were correct. We both kind of came up in that same loan broker, entrepreneur background. And so our hunger and our drive is very similar. He's starting out year one. Can you believe now, for me, this is going to be year 7. It's crazy how time flies.
That's right. Yeah, I forget you were
12.
What, for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I started in 2011, so 11 years.
11 years. Wow. That's amazing.
Well, I wasn't doing it very well for all 11, but yeah, it's crazy to think I've been doing it that long and that I'm this old. So thanks for making me remember that, Greg. Appreciate it.
No, I mean, I think you started at a very young age. I wish I would have started SBA in my 20s. You know, I'm 38 now. I'll be 39 very soon. I feel pretty much middle-aged. I know Alan's older than me, so it's okay.
Wow, dude. Man, and he's not even here to defend himself. You know, that's messed up.
No, I had the pleasure of meeting Alan at the SBA BDO retreat hosted by you, Ray. Was an amazing time. I met Chris Hackney, Sterling, all the other people, Lauren. I mean, I can go on naming names, but so many people. It was a great event, and we all still keep in touch. We still have our group chat going, and I love that.
It was a great event.
And I can't wait for the next one, Ray. It'll be awesome.
We will have a next one, more to come on that for sure. It was a great event. But going back to Alan's episode, I forget you were a broker before this because I met you when you were a lender, but that's right. On the first, by the way, you're my first repeat guest ever.
Yes. First guest and first repeat guest. I would like to thank Ray. And I remember when we did that last episode, it was during the height of COVID. Being on the episode, getting all the feedback from the episode, from friends in the industry, yourself, actually motivated me to start my own podcast. So again, thank you, Ray. You've been a great inspiration, motivational person, and I really appreciate everything that you've done for me.
Didn't you have a congressman come on your podcast?
I did.
How did you get a congressman on your podcast?
You just donate a lot of money. No, I actually have donated to his campaign, but I was able to get in touch with their comms team and kind of wanted to talk to them because he also is what I call a new American. I don't like to use the term immigrant as it has become a derogatory notion in today's politic. So I believe anyone that's come to this country, no matter when you came, once you're here, you're an American, whether you're an older American or a new American. And so we kind of talked about how when he immigrated from India, his parents lived in, Section 8 housing. And he's come basically from Section 8 housing to become a congressman in the state of Illinois, representing the northwestern Chicago suburb.
And that's not your district. You're in
I'm in
you're
North
Raleigh.
Carolina. Yes. Yes, that is correct.
Well, it's interesting because now I've interviewed a pretty good amount of high producers in our industry. And what I notice on a lot of them is their backgrounds are diverse and they come from some sort of hardship. A lot of the ones that are really good had the hardest of it, which is interesting. Why do you think you've been successful over the years? I mean, did you have any sort of adversity growing up in your life that helped make you more successful?
I would honestly say, coming from India, my parents immigrated here with $100 when I was like 5 years old. If you watch my podcast, you'll get the full biography in the first 2 episodes.
Right.
But what it does, I think it makes you appreciate coming from nothing and being able to do it. That's why I say I'm probably softer and less hardworking than my parents. And I know my kids are going to be softer than I am because they are going to have everything given to them. And so you really cannot fake hunger, and you cannot fake drive, perseverance, motivation.
Yes. And that was kind of what I got from Alan's. Because when we were with Alan back in the December, when we were at the BDO retreat, that's when you guys met, right?
Yes, correct.
And did you, because he ended up closing 30 million last year, and he's on track to probably more than double that this year. Did you think he was going to be that successful?
He's a very quirky guy. He's super funny. I think he would have a great career in stand-up comedy as well.
I'm glad you liked the episode, and we're glad Alan is having success, and I have a feeling he's going to be back at the BDO retreat next year.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. I suggest next year maybe we do it in a different city. Maybe Miami.
Oh, Miami maybe. I don't, I'll work on that. Don't worry. I got it.
But Fort Lauderdale was amazing. It was a blast.
That sounds good, man. Well, I'm glad you're here. I want to talk to you about a couple things. I think people are going to be really interested in hearing your thoughts on in part, just the industry as a whole, because I'm always interested in hearing other people's takes, especially if they're newer or like coming in from the outside, because I feel like the vast majority of the industry thinks the same way. It's like the biggest groupthink, situation ever. And we'll get into that. But I want to hear from you, particularly like big shop versus small shop, right? So like you've been at both.
Yes.
You've been at small shops and you've been at large shops. And I want to hear kind of your take on honestly what's better from the BDO standpoint, particularly like with BDOs that are looking to make a move right now and they're looking at all their options. What do you think? Big shop or small shop?
So this is purely my opinion and my opinion only, not representative of anyone else or the financial institution.
Here it comes.
But I would like to say, I think that a small shop is a lot better place for you to work at, especially if you're just starting out or even if you're a seasoned veteran, because when you have a small shop, the underwriters are easily accessible. Your director of SBA lending is a lot easier to be accessible. And with larger shops, what you will see is the churn and burn of BDOs. I think Alan talked about this on his last podcast where he said, there's a ton of guys and gals that do 8 to 12 million a year, ride that base, or switch jobs every 6 to 12 months, right? They go from shop to shop to shop to shop.
Well, 2 to 3 years.
A lot of those people. I mean, literally, you could do this for 30 years and get paid and go from shop to shop because there's so many new shops coming, so many new banks closing, mergers, all kinds of stuff, right? what I've found in a larger shop, and especially a mature shop, without naming names, is it becomes a more credit-oriented shop, because underwriters, closers, chief credit officers, chief operations officers, those people don't switch jobs like salespeople because they're not on commission. So what happens to keep a shop together, that director of SBA lending or whoever the top person is, CEO of the bank, COO, whatever, caters completely around the whims of the chief credit officer and director of credit and your underwriters and your closers. And so you come in as a BDO, they're literally going to scrutinize everything you do. I will tell you this. I remember at one shop where I was at, without naming names, I
can see your LinkedIn, but go on.
Without naming any names, I brought in a friend of mine, right? She has had experience, tons of experience in banking, but new to this shop. Then there's another guy who is at the shop, very top producer, you know, doing 70, 80 million a year out of California. We won't name a name. And she brought in a deal on a hotel. Granted, this is 2021. And obviously everyone knows what happened with COVID in 2020. However, the numbers are getting better. It's a solid deal, full equity injection, fully real estate secured deal. That same underwriter or the credit manager declined this deal from the new girl, but when the guy from California brought it in, got it approved.
Wow.
Because that person in California sends it directly to the chief credit officer because he has that access. He also gets the top underwriters. He gets his own personal closer, and he has time set up because he's proven himself. I don't see there's anything wrong with that model. They're proving themselves. But then I would go out and say, hey, don't go hire other people. Stick with your 5, 6 guys and let them all do 70 million, right? With a small shop or a startup shop, the great thing is you're building it along the way. And those are one of the things I like. Your credit box is huge. You get to build it along the way. You get to put in systems and processes in place. And let's say you've got, I think any more than 5 BDOs is too big of a shop. 5 is perfect. My perfect rendition of it would be, I would say now, even not even at a bank or a non-bank lender, but at a credit union. Credit union is a nonprofit organization. I'm at a credit union now.
Yeah, I can tell. You're like, what is this, a commercial for credit unions?
No, but seriously, hear me out. Not only do I get a 401k, I also get a pension. Where have you heard in 2022 giving you a pension?
Yeah, you're not going to find that anywhere else.
They don't have to reinvest in the CRA. It's a nonprofit, so all of the money does go back to the members. The way they're run, so they have a lot more, I would say, understanding of credit, looser credit guidelines or anything like, I wouldn't say looser, but more understanding, right? But if you have 5 BDOs, 1 director of lending whose sole job is to coach, right? Help them with anything that they need, coach them up, and those kind of things. 5 BDOs, and each of them have their own underwriter, their own closer, and their own assistant. Those 5 guys and gals can easily do 50 million, like Alan said. I could, you could. We have a couple of friends that we know could do that easily, right? I mean, there's probably like 20 to 25 BDOs all across this country that last year did close to 50 million or more. If you have that, the shop in and of itself is extremely efficient in terms of payroll, and you get these deals done because now I know it's assigned to my underwriter. It's assigned to my closer. And we have an assembly line process put in for processing these SBA loans. It makes everyone's life a lot easier. And then, you know how everyone complains today about, oh, there's not enough jobs. Oh, wait.
You brought his name up, so now we have to bring in the Alan Peterson.
Look at this. The man, the myth, the legend.
Greg, you know what, Greg? I'm actually currently self-sourcing deals in the metaverse, as you can tell, which I know is something you and I are big on. And
yes,
you know, I just really thought this would be a great time to announce. I guess, do you want to let Ray know, or do you want me just to tell him the good news?
Go ahead, drop it.
We've decided to have our first. We've finally decided. We've been working on this for months tirelessly. We've decided that the first guest on the Art of Metaverse Investing podcast will be none other than Ray Drew.
Yes.
Wow, guys, I am honored. Thank you. Well, now I'm gonna have to break it to you because your co-host has been firing shots at your way this whole episode.
all in fun, Alan.
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch this back. Oh man, you're not gonna believe it. I think I might have to fill in as your new co-host after you hear this episode.
I'm sure it's good.
No, Alan's great. I will say I love the P275 license plate, my friend. Well, that is the awesomest thing ever.
Little joke for the guys, you know. I like that. You know what I mean? But
Alan,
we're getting there.
So
that's great.
I'm interviewing Greg, and I was just wondering, do you have any questions for Greg, since we just did the same thing with Chris for you?
Well, I would say, sticking with this theme of Greg, do you foresee in the next decade, or no, let's cut it down to 5 years, we will be able to use virtual real estate as collateral for an SBA loan?
Only if you can use digital dollars and digital currency that's approved by the FDIC and the Treasury Department. So if that is okay, I think you will easily be able to in the metaverse. Because
so I agree. There's no way.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Why don't you guys save that for your Art of Metaverse podcast? All right. Now
you're guest number one. You put it all together, and we got to get back to Fort Lauderdale. That's all I'm saying.
I will ask you this one question really quickly, Alan.
Yes, sir.
It's very easy to do 40, 50 million on a 90% guarantee in 6 months, paid principal and interest. I would like to see how many of those people today in a rising interest rate environment can do 30 to 40 million today. This year. What are you thinking? Are you able to price stuff at prime 275? Because I cannot.
I can. Yeah, no, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, I really am, you know, actively and currently, you know, even in the raising rate environment, I never sell on price anyway, right? That's like sales 101. And if you're dealing with, you know, people that want to put a ton of cash down and they're really just conventional guys looking to do whatever, I don't think that's my customer, right? So it goes down to figuring out who your customer is or whatever. I mean, I should have, I think 15 going this month, which is good. Awesome. And that is the pricing there. I'm not doing the fix for 5 every 525 on every deal anymore. It's over. I'm not doing it. And what I've learned is I don't have to. You know, the more paper I pass on, when I find my customer, I'm able to do it the right way. You know, that makes sense for them. Still, with large, you know, stuff and competitive deals, we're always going to price to win. Okay, especially as you know, I do a ton of storage, but you're not going to see me. You won't see, you know, prime plus a quarter paper for fixed from me. That doesn't make any sense. You know.
No, I agree. I mean, like obviously on 10-year paper, I'm full boat pricing all the time.
Yeah.
I start on 25-year paper.
Right.
Like prime 2.5 and work down from there. I try not to go below prime 2, right? But I mean, that's when prime was at 3.25. I think when it goes to 5, 475 on a $4 million quality in St. Pete or Clearwater, that's a difficult deal because every quarter point on a $4.5 million loan is like $1,500.
Yeah, I did a Days in Clearwater last year, and that was a 504. You know what I mean? So there's again though, that's kind of, it depends on the customers too. I know that Ray's made the second best and most exciting internet announcement. First being the decision. We're all there. Don't pretend that wasn't exciting.
That was great.
That was great. That was good.
Oh, right. Okay.
I was
Yeah.
there. I remember like it was yesterday.
That was
Number
classic.
2 is niching down and just tackling BizX because it's what you love to do. You know what I mean? So I think that's it, just quite frankly, like that's kind of that's a space. I mean, I know you do a lot of hotels, Greg. You know, that's something that I've done a couple of them, but I wouldn't be the expert in it the way you are. And I think that's what's so cool about what we do. We all know what each other can provide value to our larger network at whole, right?
And that's one of the biggest things that I always say is don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
I can do a credit memo on a hotel, gas station, or liquor store in my sleep. Literally.
I know.
I mean, you just change the city, the flag, or the state, whether it's Choice or Wyndham. You know, my favorite hotel is a Quality Inn. I've probably done countless Quality Inns. On the Choice side, on the Wyndham side, they're Super 8s, you know, or Days Inns. I mean, that's it. They have low default rates. Look at the NAICS charge-off codes. Who doesn't drink? Everyone drinks. Liquor stores always do well, you know?
Right. It's in the pandemic, they did great.
Exactly. Because the bars were shut. I've seen numbers on liquor stores, 40, 50, 60%.
Well, that's why I'm trying to do more rehabs now. So I'm always looking for the next play. So I'm
always thinking
drug
ahead.
and alcohol treatment centers exclusively right now.
I like that.
Alan,
You should do the ones for the opioids.
Dude, that sounds like an episode for your podcast.
yeah, well,
Save some of our good stuff.
I've lost control of my podcast. I'm just gonna say it. Alan, thank you for shining a light on the metaverse.
We're talking in 30 minutes, sir.
Yeah, talk to you guys soon. Thanks for having me. And always great to connect with both of you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, later.
Have a good
Thanks,
one, Alan. Let's get back to business.
So listen, I'm gonna stop what you right there on the big shop, small shop debate and just kind of play devil's advocate a little bit. You know, someone's got to defend the big shops, you know, big SBA. I guess I'm going to have to play that role. So when I joined my last firm, it was a startup and it was a small shop, right? Because there was a couple BDOs and a couple underwriters and it was just that the plan was to grow it. So by the time you went there, it was a big shop. And
correct.
And so I guess the point you were making was the big producers get special treatment. That's what it comes down to. And I do believe that.
Yes.
But they earn it. That's the thing. So why couldn't your friend?
I said there's nothing wrong with that. I agree with you.
Right. Okay. So
what I would say is go instead to a startup that may become a big shop.
Got it.
Or go to a startup or a smaller shop that's starting up or has been there for a while where you know you have a relationship, right? And it's more relationship between you and the underwriter. Here's another bomb I'm going to drop.
All right, here it goes. I like it.
Personally,
good for ratings.
Would rather have an LSP closing my loans instead of an internal closing department.
Get out of town.
You know why?
Why?
It's because I know numerous closers who are not worth a. Whereas if there's an LSP, they work for you. I can get on the phone with that closer and be like, WTF, what's going on? Send out this checklist. Let's get this done.
Oh, geez.
And also the LSP that I've worked with exclusively, their whole structure and infrastructure is built around bringing students in straight out of college, teaching them SBA, and then having them work 14 hours a day because they're single, they don't have children, They don't have other life priorities. You know, as they get older, I know a lot of closers, men and women, who have so many other responsibilities, especially during COVID, everybody works remote. These people won't jump on a closing call. They won't do this. I've just had way too many terrible experiences with closers at the 2 shops I worked at where we had in-house closers.
Okay.
To
Well,
have to deal with
closing is the hardest part of the process, in my opinion. And yeah, it's very tough for a closer to take a file on an acquisition. I mean, it's going from the seller wanting to sell. Sometimes there's a broker involved, getting it all together, getting it packaged, getting it to Greg's desk. Greg packages it up, sends a proposal, gets it through underwriting, gets it through commitment letter. And then it lands on the closer's desk and we say, we have to close next week. That's a tough job
That's
for
not
anyone.
realistic. No, I agree with you. But I've had deals that sat in closing for 2 months. And we won't name this closer because you've worked with her as well. But that was one of the reasons. So last year, I kind of had a come to Jesus moment. I worked at 3 different shops. Last year was my lowest production year. It was under 20 million. I have not done under 20 million since my first year back in 2015.
Why did that happen? Why did you go to a shop that was a fairly big shop and you couldn't get it done?
I don't know. I think it was just a learning curve. You know, people make mistakes. I will tell you right now, I've made a ton of mistakes in my life. And the best thing you can do is learn from those mistakes. So the first shop I was at to begin the year, I had started there the previous year. And that was me leaving a regional small bank shop to a national shop. And they were going to build it up. I was the first BDO hired. And I got like 15 million approved within the first like 6 months. And I'm like, all right, this is great. This is great. Did extremely well. What happened is as that shop grew, it was an exponential growth curve, right? Brought on 11 BDOs in a year. And it was basically building the plane in the sky. I've never had so much heartburn. Obviously, it was COVID too. So it was crazy. So
Yeah.
it was kind of a come to Jesus moment for me. And then from leaving there to going to the next shop was basically jumping out of the frying pan into the fire.
Wow.
And within 30 days, I knew it didn't work for me, right? 30 to 60 days. I just said, it doesn't work for me. This is not, and it could work for other people. It just didn't work for me.
Was there any draw to looking at a top tier kind of or high volume lender, however you want to put it, and going to work there? Was there any, like, what was your motivation for even doing that?
Well, because, and this is not really an industry secret. I'm just going to put it out there. Most people know as a BDO, if you have deals you can't do, you refer them out to other SBA lenders. And I would refer this one person over there, all my deals that we could not get done. And he would somehow magically get them all done. So that's why I felt like, oh, they must have a great credit box, this and that. But then
you went
when I
over there and
got
found
there,
out he was getting special treatment.
because he's a top producer. He's the second highest producer behind their guy in California, right? So he's their top East Coast producer. And so that's why he had his own underwriter, own BDA, own closer. And he still does today. But great guy. I still send him deals because I know they can get done. Funny thing is, after I left, I had 2 deals in the pipeline that couldn't get through credit, but magically when he took them over, he was able to get them through. You know, I mean,
That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that's the truth.
But you know, that person joined when we were a fairly big shop, and they earned, I guess, that place. I would say. But yeah, no, it's normal. It's weird to think about, but it is normal. So I can only just say that, and I don't know if it's big shop or small shop, but at that shop that we're not naming, I learned so much, and I was operating in this big shop environment, and I was I don't know what kind of treatment I was getting, honestly, but I was doing okay. But then coming to a small shop where I'm at now, I feel like I have like superpowers. I'm like, it's just so much easier to get stuff done.
No, you're 100% correct. And I think it's probably also because you came over to Fundex at the right time as they were doing that exponential growth. And your 10 years previously had set you up for the volume of success you have today. One of the things, it's a Kobe Bryant quote, that Mamba mentality. No one sees the glacier under the iceberg, right? There's a mountainous glacier under that small iceberg. And that's all the hard work that you have done over the past decade to get you where you're at. No one just comes in instantly and closes 30 million unless your name's
Well, Alan does.
Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to go there. Caveat it. But Alan's a great guy. I mean, he did so many years as a hard money lender, as a broker, other things that set himself up for success in this role, right? To be a sales guy, even though we sell money, is you've got to have a certain twitch in your brain to be able to do this.
Well, I want to go a little deeper into this conversation because honestly, it's really interesting. Because if you're sitting there right now saying, where I'm at is not working, I want to make a move, and I'm looking at some of the top 10 lenders in the country, or top 15, or even top 25, some of these are big shops, but I'm also looking at some startup shops, and I'm also looking at some kind of mid-tier shops. There's going to be, like on a startup, for example, there's going to be some risk involved. You don't know if they're going to make it.
Okay. And you don't know how conservative they are or how open the credit box is. I think where you have to start is looking inward and looking at what are my strengths. Are my strengths on the sales side, on the pre-underwriting side, and then go, what is the distribution of 10-year paper to 25-year paper that I do? And then you have to look at, on the 25-year paper, what asset classes do I do a majority of? Is it hotels? Is it self-storage? Is it daycare, vet clinics, whatever it is, office, industrial? And what are you good at, right? And then you take all of those things, and then when you're in the interviews, you want to be extremely specific. The last thing I ever talk about is salary and comp, right? I talk about underwriters. I talk about closers. I talk about what the credit looks like. Show me a credit memo. Let me look at a credit memo. And then the other great thing you can do is run a deal through the shop before you move over. Always, always, always. This is key. Run that deal through the shop, see how it goes, work with the underwriter, work with the closer, figure out where the pain points are, if you can live with those pain points, and then, and only then, look at salary and comp.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the luxury of running a deal through the system, that is going to shine a light on so much. I mean, that literally is so important. I didn't do that because when I decided to leave, I don't even know if I ever told the story, but I was like, basically, I just felt like I sort of plateaued and was just not being challenged as much as I wanted to be. So I was like, maybe I should build my own shop, and that's going to be our next topic. But ultimately, the consultant I was talking to said, hey, you should talk to these guys at Fundex. And I was like, what's a Fundex? And I was like, oh, that's a Fundex. And it was so new. And I was like, that's my thing, because it's non-bank, and it's like, I can help bring it to market, because if I didn't know about it, that means a lot of other people don't know about it. And then I can help position us and grow. That's the type of stuff that I like. And so I signed on, man. I was like, yeah, no, it turned out to be a great decision. I did not leave because I was unhappy with anything, with the credit box or anything like that. I didn't know any better that there was other stuff out there. So when I left and we got deals through underwriting, I was like, what's the catch? Like, I thought for the first 3 months, I swear, I thought I was getting that sort of special treatment, like I'm new here, so people are just gonna like do,
Try to help you out.
yeah, they're gonna give me just a little bit of runway to
treatment.
yeah, and then 4 months went by, 5 months went by, and it was like, oh, this is just how it could be. And my mind is just because I got to that other shop when I was like 26 or 25, and I had only two years of 7A experience before that. So my whole knowledge, who I am, was all built at this last place. I mean, that was my training, which it was amazing training. Especially from the credit team. I mean, they were top notch, very smart guys. But also, being that smart, it's also tough getting a deal through underwriting because they know to turn over every stone. But it would be like, yeah, to get a deal into underwriting and then get it through underwriting, it's a process. And then I came here, and it's like I had to sort of unlearn certain things about getting a deal into underwriting, because the underwriter is on your team, as is the closer. That's how it's supposed to be anyway. Versus this department, and then this department, and then this department. And to like cross into this department, you need to be checking all these boxes. And if you're not there yet, they're just going to kick you back over here and say, come back when you're ready. Versus like here, they're going to like kind of give you a hand, help you up, say, yeah, all right, you're missing this, but like, let's just run with it. We'll keep it moving for the customer and whatnot.
No, 100%. You're correct.
Yeah. So, all right. So if you were going to then design your own shop from scratch today in our universe, not the metaverse, just want to disclaimer, what would it look? And I feel like you kind of touched upon it earlier with the 5 BDOs. Paint the picture of Greg, the Greg Money Store.
So I'm like this close to finishing and putting together a business plan on this. Actually, I would no longer go to a bank. I would either go to a credit union or buy one of the 11 non-bank SBA licenses that are available. I'm under the impression, I think 1 or 2 are available right now. And I've spoken with some directors of SBA lending that have been in the industry 30, 40 years. And what they've told me, the purchase price for one of those licenses is between $1.5 and $2.5 million. Then you're going to need about $1 million to another $1.5 million burn rate as you get an office space, hire out your staff, those kind of things before the premium income kicks in, right? And so you need about $4 to $5 million cash on hand through investors, through the LLC to get started.
That doesn't sound right. Greg, hold on. 4 or 5 million, that's it? No way.
No, I'm serious. So let me finish.
All right, fine, go ahead.
The big thing is we need to find, I would say a billionaire is probably the easiest way to do it, instead of going to JP Morgan, Barclays, the investment banks, right? For a 50 to 100 million, we probably only need a $50 million line of credit to table fund the loan, right? Then we sell off 75%, bring in the other 25% on the balance sheet. And then you're collecting servicing income on the back end. I learned all this stuff at just talking to some of the other guys and whatnot and figuring out how they run it, right?
I thought we weren't going to name names.
Sorry, it came up, but like I asked these questions, right? And I was like, so how does this work? How does this work? Me and Michael are still really good friends, Johnson. And he kind of tells me a lot of this stuff. And there are licenses available to do that. So what you basically need is $4 million cash. So if we round up 4 guys
between you, me, and Alan.
Yes. And the big thing is we need a billionaire friend that will give us a $50 million LOC at like 2% interest. Plus we give him a percentage ownership in the operating company, and they make it, and we show them the business plan. That's really how you start it. To be honest with you, it's as simple and as hard as that.
If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave in the comments below if you can get an SBLC for $1 to $2 million, because I thought it was like 5x that.
I will tell you which one's available. If you want to bleep it out, it's you can.
I'm not gonna wait. All right, fine. Bleep. All right, we'll bleep it out. Go ahead.
So the one that's available is the one. It's owned by 3 rich guys, private equity guys out of Boston. The guy who worked there, who's the director of lending, his name is. He now works for here in North Carolina as their director of SBA lending. Before he was at Bank of America and TD. I've personally talked to him, and I know that license is available. We could probably pick it up for anywhere between 1.5 and 2.5.
I met that guy at the conference in Asheville.
The SBLC.
GLQC.
GLQC. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, that's awesome. Now, it's unfortunately your employer is now finding out that you're going to be resigning on Monday.
No. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time and devotion to it. I think obviously no one can do it on their own. You need a great team. This would take an extremely long time to execute. The other option, and the SBA has pushed this, is getting more credit unions involved in SBA lending, because credit unions do a ton of consumer lending. There's some large ones in Florida that are larger than some of the largest community banks in the state of Florida. Those are the places that are ripe for disruption to start an SBA lending program.
One credit union just bought up a bank down here that had a pretty big SBA team, and they're growing it right now. And there's another really big credit union in Florida that doesn't do much SBA, but they're very big.
Yeah, I mean, that's the perfect shot. Again, though, you're working in the confines of that structure. The cool thing about owning your own license, you do have to get a little bit of politics involved. Like, I would have the head of operations be our friend's mother.
I know what you're talking about.
And you know who I'm talking about.
That's a good idea. 100%. Yeah, dude, honestly,
and I mean,
you
just pay her $200,000 to sit there and make sure we get our licenses. It's sad to say, but that's how it works. She'll make a couple of phone calls to Director Guzman, I think it is, who's the director of the SBA. Like, hey, I need you to fast track.
Oh yeah, she's coming on next week, by the way. She's my guest next week.
Oh, no way.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm joking. Although maybe I'll try, actually. That's actually not a bad idea. That would be pretty sick.
I really think you should get some of the government people on here. I would like to see you get someone from Citrus Heights, that when a loan is submitted, GP, how they look at it and what their kind of understanding of it is. I don't know if you can. That would be really cool. I know a lot of BDOs would want to know that.
I'm going to Nagel next week, and I'm going to rep the podcast, and I'm going to try to, I'm trying to find some good guests, take this up a notch.
That'll be awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah.
You got us sitting at the edge of our seats.
Oh yeah. Stay tuned. And yes, hit that subscribe button. So
That's right.
Is there anything else you want to talk about before we
yes.
call it?
Last thing I would talk about is how to close large loans very quickly, right?
I'm listening.
So I have a deal where it had to close by December 31st. The seller really wanted it closed. The buyer was like, I don't really mind, but if the seller wants it closed, I'm not getting an extension. We have to get it closed. And I got this deal the second week of November, right before Thanksgiving. And we were able to close by December 31st. So it was like a $3.8 million loan, 4.3, 4.4 purchase price. I think 4.6 purchase price of again, quality in here in North Carolina. And the reason we were able to close it so quickly was I got all of the financials, all of the documents in an extremely timely manner within 24 to 48 hours between the seller's financials, the borrower's financials, affiliate financials, and they were all up to date within 90 days. When you have that, And like I told you, writing a hotel credit memo, I can do it in my sleep. Takes me about 2 to 3 hours. Boom, knocked out. Full credit memo, 8 pages, done. Right? Look at the star report, look at the occupancy, look at this, look at trend lines, and then project out. Then I got it into the underwriter. As soon as he would send me questions, we would get them answered within the same day or within 24 hours. So we were able to get the loan approved in 3 weeks, you know? And now that gives you another 3 weeks to close, 20 days, 19 days approximately. And this was with Thanksgiving in between and Christmas in between. So
Was that an LSP that we're using an LSP?
I was using an LSP. Thank you. I told the guys ahead of time, I said, this has to close by December 31st. I don't care what you do. I also like to use one of my favorite attorneys. Her name is Joanne Bader Morgan at Warden Smith out of Asheville, fellow UNC alumni. She's great, fast. Her team's amazing. She was able to pull title, get everything done that we needed, and all of that to be able to close by December 31st.
Congrats, man. It's tough. The holidays makes it even tougher. LSP, I mean, I know that's, you like that, but
and the main reason I like it is because their model, they're based out of Chicago, their operations office, they hire the brightest kids from finance and econ backgrounds from Midwestern universities, from Ohio State, University of Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan, all of those schools, right? Illinois. And when you're 22 years old, 23 years old, you need 6-9 months of training to learn the closing process and doing a couple of deals. But these guys, similar to investment banking, junior analysts, if you pay them 80, 90 a year, and just work them, they don't mind working 12, 14 hours because they see this as a stepping stone. So there have been people that have gone from our LSP, Windsor Advantage, to full investment banking analyst roles, paying high 6-figure salaries just because of the expertise they learn at Windsor Advantage. And I've known Windsor since they started in 2012. Sean Andrews was the founder of Windsor. He's no longer even affiliated with them. And they promote from within. Will, who's their current CEO, started off in a closer role. And I remember when he was doing that, and just things like that. It's a very young team. And Will is like 36. I think he's younger than me, right? And he's CEO of Windsor. And so it has to be a specific LSP. Can't be a fly by night and that kind of thing. They just have it really down packed.
If you are going to, well, I mean, I
sound like an advertisement for Windsor.
I've heard good things. They're the one to use. And we actually did use, I think we used them when we started, right before I got here. But we were trying to transition out of it because we wanted to have more control over our process.
Yeah. And where they make their money is in servicing. We all know how the back end is servicing. The previous shop we were at, I'll just name it now, has over $1 billion in servicing income. I mean, in loans. So they just in servicing makes $10 million a year in income. We know those guys are loving it, right? The private equity guys that own it are loving it. And that is the trick. That is the trick. It's not as much the income up front, but the servicing income. When you get 10 years in, you got $1 billion+ in servicing fees, 1%, you're killing it. And so that's where Windsor also makes their money, is on the back end servicing.
Got it.
Because what they charge on the front end pays for the labor. I mean, that's a break even.
I love how we started this episode not naming anything, and then we've named pretty much every lender in the country.
We have. I will tell you though, the one lender out of California is 10x worse. and they're in Newport Beach. That's all you got to know.
Listen, before I let you go, when we buy this shop, what are we going to name it?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I really have not thought of that.
Really? That's the
You
first
should
thing I
just
would
name
think
it
of.
The Art of SBA Lending.
Well, that's taken.
No, but yours is The Art of SBA Lending podcast.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to sue your.
No, if you're part of the ownership group,
Okay, so I'm CEO?
if you want, I don't mind. I would rather not have the title because the CEO means
Sure.
you've got to go to a lot of Washington, D.C. meetings,
Oh,
NAGLE meetings. I'd rather be the director of sales.
damn, you got
That's
me.
perfectly. Me and Alan would be fighting for that job.
So Alan, okay, this is actually, I wish I had more time because I would love to do a game where it's almost like a draft. You draft the people out of the whole country who you want to on your shop.
Oh, that would be great.
All right, we'll do that next. Okay.
You got to do
Well,
like a East Coast, West Coast,
Oh,
like NBA
yeah.
All-Star game.
Oh,
You got to get
Daniel Park.
your guy, Daniel Park.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'll be on the West Coast, and then we get an East Coast team and see how it goes.
That would be so cool. All right. Well, hey, we'll invite you back, Greg. You're now a recurring guest here, so I appreciate you stopping by, man.
Thanks,
keep
man.
doing what you're doing.
I really appreciate it. You also keep informing the industry, and #1 podcast in SBA lending, in lending, period. Let's go there. I just went there.
All right, that's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode of The Art of SBA Lending. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, email me at ray@artofsba.com. Until next time, ta-ta.